Hello, welcome to the Smithy. It's a nice, cool morning here. When I say cool, I mean it's like 67 degrees this morning. 67 degrees. It's cool here this morning. Nice weather for doing some sort of labor in your property, honeydews, whatever. I'll be doing cleaning out a chicken hutch after today's live stream this morning. It's perfect for getting a fire going in the forge and sharing with you all a new technique I learned from Yamez over at Island Metal Forge for creating the leaf that I do every morning, every Saturday morning. Hey Aaron, hopefully my sound's working today. Spent some time this morning figuring it out. Hey Eric, Kevin, nice to see folks joining me right off the bat this morning. Switch over to the safety glasses. Didn't get quite everything set up. Caught me putting on my apron, and now my glasses. Safety second, as they say. Yep, getting things heated up here. We got a nice bed of charcoal keeping things lit underneath the coal that I'm pulling on top. I'm going to switch over to the anvil real quick here. For the folks who put up with my silent forging last week, you'll know this already, but last week was a week of failures. The live stream had audio problems. I burnt off 2 leaves, and then on this one, which I had going really well, I forged the stem down too much at the beginning of my process, and then as I was bending the stem that I had made way too long, it just popped right off. So just failure after failure last week. So this week, hopefully we have a better time of it. Learned some stuff though. I learned there's a benefit to putting more air into the fire than you think you need, or at least I thought I needed. And that benefit is simply that you don't have to put your material down low where the heat, the primary heat is, and bring it up higher into the coals and prevent it from burning up as fast. So that's what I'm doing today. So let's dress up this tip real quick. So that I can then move on to necking the leaf a different way this time. Thank you, dear. Thank you, everybody, for letting me know the sound's good. Cart wagon, nice. Sort of like old-fashioned, not blacksmith, although that's true too. What is it called? Dag nabbit. The folks that do the horseshoes. It's right on the tip of my tongue too. Farrier. Yeah, it turned out that I had two problems with my sound. I had figured out one of them last weekend. And then today I sat there testing and discovered that there was a second problem. And the second problem was probably more important than the first problem. And that is, I had it set up so that my sound was only going to the monitor, which I don't even have a monitor set up, so that was dumb. I don't even know how I got it into that condition. There we go. We now have a nice point for the leaf. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the material hot enough to neck it. And for that, let me switch over to the anvil. You'll be paying attention to the horn this morning, which means it's probably going to ring loud. That's the price of blacksmithing. I'm lucky to have my ears this morning. We went to a concert, a K-pop band named 17 last night. Really amazing show. Those guys can dance their asses off, sing great. I don't understand half the words they're singing, but it doesn't matter because the beat was just knocking my chest. Really solid. The bass in that in the climate change arena is amazing. So what I saw Yamez doing, and it's pretty darn smart, was using. Let me switch it around. Using the horn and then I'm using the rounding side of my hammer to be more aggressive about it, about bringing down the size of the, there we go. Now I'm not as skilled at this yet, so my dimensions aren't absolutely perfect yet. But that's why you start working a new technique, is to figure out the actual technique. Yep, have anvil, will travel. Helps to have a fire too. Yeah, I've got a perfectly sized anvil for the farrier's work here in my shop. I've got a little 75-pound Trenton. Something you can pick up and throw around a little bit. I mean, I don't know how much throwing around I would do, but that's my slag from last time. I don't know if you guys saw that. I'll pull that out in a second. That is definitely, I mean, I'm not going to get it down to the fewest heats ever at this point yet, but that is definitely more efficient. I knew drawing out was more efficient over the horn. That much I knew. But to not have to be as precise as I thought I had to be for necking the base of the leaf, that's a nice trick. Let me go a little deeper in the fire here. That means I can get rid of this stand I made. Fabric cobbled. A little bit of forge work. Forge work was all in the feet. Had to make 3 identical feet. Well, close to identical. Identical enough that it'll stand on flat ground, and even in this unflat ground that I have here in the shop, being that it's just a dirt floor at the moment. Yeah, I learned the hard way that yes, I can get a plenty hot heat by slowing down my airflow, probably burning up less fuel, but that heat is right there where you can see it in the camera down low, which means I had to get it didn't travel up nearly as far into the coals, which meant I had to put my material down low, which meant it was much faster to reach temperature and burn up. So, lesson learned. It was Roy that I watched, I don't know, a year or so ago. Christ-Centered Ironworks, that made me realize how much more efficient using the horn is for drawing out. Let's take a little bit bigger bite. All right, start straightening some of this out. We're almost to the point where I want to be across. I think I will end up using the edge of my anvil to do cleanup work. Better to find the transition from the leaf to the stem. Very nice. So you preparing this for your demo talk, Aaron? Giving us a little sneak preview? Come on, Restream, catch up with the conversation here, so other folks on the stream will know what you're talking about. Let's see here. There we go. That's the distance I want. All right, time to heat the rest of it up more and start knocking off corners. And let me switch over to the flat side here. So it was a great evening. My wife came away with a little bit less hearing than I did because I was fortunate enough to have my AirPods Pro in my pocket and could use them as earplugs. Because man, the music was loud. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But that wasn't the part that caused hearing loss. It was the screaming girls. They are really vociferous about their fandom. What was incredible to me, because I haven't been to a lot of concerts in my life. I didn't have a lot of money growing up. Didn't have a lot of money in most of my adulthood. So concerts were form of entertainment I just couldn't afford. But things shifted wonderfully when I met and married my bride, She enabled me to pursue some incredible opportunities, both by fostering my belief that we could do them and by being willing to take the risk that something might not happen the way we expect it to. And then, of course, also by providing a safety net that I didn't have previously. Amazing, smart woman there. But I'd seen the, the movies and so forth about the Screaming Girls, but until you're in it, you just don't know how bad it can be. All right. I don't need a lot more. We need to go ahead and better define. There we go. Much better. And just to prevent, there we go, knock off the corner that I was developing there so that I don't end up having that fold over on me. Now we're in a shape where I feel confident that this is going to work out well. Watching Yamez, I don't think I needed to do that, but I feel better now because I think he had more control over his understanding of how to use the horn. Oh, thank you. Smooshing the like button's a beautiful thing. Yeah, because you have to move around that anvil, you have to move around a forge, you have to move around material and fuel. So I could see how weight would be a consideration. And this is going to be another longish stem. It's also going to be a bigger stem this time because I didn't take the time to knock it down quite as much. But it is the first time I'm using the technique, so I give myself a little slack. Lots of light tappity blows to add more and more facets, hopefully never in the same place twice, so you end up going to almost perfectly round. Never perfectly round, but almost. We're not milling it, we're not machining it, we're smithing it, so people expect there to be some telltale marks of blacksmithing. Especially if they're coming to a blacksmith's sales table at an arts fair. Oh, don't have the material down where the heat is. That won't help it. Got things all sorts of bent out of shape in the fire. But yeah, they were loud. We ended up leaving before the final act because we're old and we like to get to our parking fast. No, that's not why. It was my wife's ears were ringing and it was just enough for her. But it did end up meaning that we didn't have to fight traffic to get out of town. That was nice. And that is a stem. And like again, it's a chunkier stem than I'm used to making. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that down right in there. But before I do that, let's turn it into a leaf. Is it going to be a static display, or are you actually going to have pack animals pulling your cart? Here, let's use this side. There we go. Grab my other hammer real quick. Give it a bend in the right direction. For the newbies out there that join the channel or watch it after whenever, that hammer on the anvil is not a blacksmith's hammer. It's something you can buy on, at your favorite source for such things. Mine I got on Amazon. It was one of my first hammers for blacksmithing. There we go. We got a leaf-like shape now. A little bit of life to the shape. Put that away. But its format is not too dissimilar to other ergonomic hammers in that it's a short handle. It has a nice grip here. You can hold it as you would any other ergonomic hammer. And the reason I use it today is because it's one of the few straight peens I have. As a matter of fact, it's the only straight peen I have. I have 2 cross peens, but I don't have another straight peen. Would I recommend this as a hammer for a beginner blacksmith? If you've swung hammers, yes. If you haven't swung hammers, no. This is a bit of a heavy hammer for a beginner blacksmith. There's a good chance you're not going to have the correct hammer form, and you're going to feel it all in here, and then you'll probably end up with tennis elbow. So this is not what I would recommend for a beginner blacksmith who hasn't swung hammers. But if you have, it's a good hammer for it. Let's go ahead and get this removed from the source material. What kind of bellows are you using, Eric? let's get some material, some fuels up on top here, so I can move the heat up in it. See that smoke come up from cooking the new fuel. Cooking the coal into coke. Most of that smoke gets burnt up by the fire on top and pushed out the chimney, but some of it just gonna blow right in your face. So be ready for that. All right, it's getting hot where I want it to, but let's make sure the rest doesn't get hot by making it stick up out of the fire. There we go. And there we go. Grab my other one again. I'm going to go ahead and steepen that. Come back here, round it up a bit. Of course, it wants to flatten now that I've got it so steep. There we go. Sometimes it's not hit harder, it's hit softer. There we go. All right. Material is so small that if I hit hard, it's just going to go where I don't want it to. So now I'm going to need tongs. You can do this with pliers just fine. But tongs I have, so tongs I'll use. I'm also going to need a way to bend all this. So we'll go over to the scrolling tongs. Let's see if we can get a nice smooth round loop where I want it. This doesn't have to be too hot right now to do what I want. It's going to snap right off. So all I'm doing is spinning that around. It's going to automatically curl on itself a little bit, and it's also going to create something of a penny scroll, although this is much smaller than a penny that I'm doing here. As you just keep twisting and twisting, and it stresses the metal and pops right off. There you go. So that's that. Let's cool that off in my quench tank. I didn't burn this up, so that means I get to actually work on something else today. Definitely a much chonkier stem this time. Don't know if I like that, but it's what we got. It's what I'm going to work with. So we'll go ahead and bring this around this way. It's funny, I actually pulled out all that coke in there in the hopes that I would find that curly Q, and I didn't. And now I've lost it again because it's not down where it's getting hot and coming up as a very bright piece of metal. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to the vise. Let's see if it's actually working today. It is. Nice. We'll come around here, and we'll use some tongs to help move this where I want it. Didn't get it warm enough right there, so we'll go ahead and put it back in the fire. This is also not curling around the way I want it to. So let's make that happen. There we go. A little bit. Let's get her back in the fire. Warm up my tongs a little bit even, so I can get the heat where I want it. Eric, did you say what this demo is for? Who the audience is? And generally let people know where they can come see you. All right, I've got a nice smooth curve going here, but it's way too big. So, the problem is I want this to turn, not this. So I'm going to heat it back up again and quench the part that I don't want to move. It's so hot in there, I probably don't even need to add air to get it to behave the way I want. Go ahead right into my quench tank here. Cool off all that area I don't want to move. There we go. That's better. And now I can close that up. This might be the smoothest I've made a ring so far. It's a very big ring. Yeah. That's pretty much the extent of it. I might, no, I don't think I have the control to pull that out. I think that's as good as it's getting. I don't dislike it. Let's see if I can use the horn to just make things a little bit more consistent in the motion of it. But it doesn't really have to be. It is a stem after all. Organic isn't perfect. There we go. I like that it actually went a little off center too. All right. Clean it up. Put this away. And my next project, because I've been putting this one off for too long, in other words, I've kept forgetting I needed to do it, is going to be a sign hanger from my neighbor. She runs a non-profit on her property, which is an ag preservation zone historical site. And she could use a sign. Well, she has signs, but she could use something that is more rustic, considering the properties, buildings were like my home, built in the late 1800s. I'm gonna go ahead and do what I typically do. You get into the small stuff and it doesn't want to do what I tell it. Let me hit mute real quick.